I have been noticing a trend in my neighborhood, and I am wondering if you are noticing the same thing. I take a walk almost every morning, if nothing else, just to get some sunshine in my eyes, to help with my sleep, or to get the zoomies out of my dog. And I have seen several women in my neighborhood wearing weighted vests. Now, these are not brand new. Weighted vests have been around for a while. They've been used in military training for a while. But in terms of kind of the modern use of weighted vests, they've really kind of been around for about 30 years. And Hyperwear, which is one of the leading manufacturers of weighted vests, introduced their patent about 10 years ago. So I would say, since the 2010s or so, these things have definitely been around. However, we are seeing more and more of them. I am actually seeing them in use, and I'm starting to see some chatter and some questions online. In fact, I am on a Facebook group full of women over 40 in my neighborhood, and someone started asking questions about that, and I thought, that's a really good question. I have not done a ton of research into weighted vests, so here we are. This was the inspiration. So thank you to the women in my neighborhood group for inspiring today's episode, and I'm going to jump into this. So just to give you a brief outline of what we're talking about today, we're going to talk some about the benefits of weighted vests, when to wear one, when not to wear one, contraindications, which are basically like, who is this not for? Because as we know, we can't just put a one size fits all on everybody and say, everybody needs to be doing this. And then we'll talk about like, if this works for you, how should you integrate this? What's the proper weight? What's the progression? And then what to look for when purchasing a weighted vest. I'm going to tell you upfront, I do not have one. I have thought about getting one, but I have not gotten one. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. And I do have a recommendation based off a brand that I have used their products, but I have not used this one. So if you're wanting to walk out of today's episode with me saying this is the one brand you should get, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but also I want you to do your research for what is going to work for you and your body and your needs and your goals. So if all you're wanting is like for me to tell you what to do, then you're not going to get what you want. And I'm so sorry about that. But also I'm not sorry because that's just not how I work. Okay, let's go back up to the top. And before I get into the benefits of weighted vests, first let's talk about what they are. Basically, they are almost like an outerwear garment. Think of a vest where it has weight in it. I know it seems very simple, but just in case you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so you wear it over your clothes. If you are going walking, if you're walking around the house, then you're going to wear it over your clothes. It's not like a unique piece of clothing that you wear instead of something else. It's in addition to it. And it just adds weight to your body. In fact, I have recommended that weighted vests are great to use instead of, say, walking with 2-pound weights in your hands or walking with ankle weights or something like that. I did a podcast episode on this years ago, and I will link to it in the show notes if you want to hear that. But weighted vests are basically just a vest that you put on. There's a couple different styles, and it adds weight. So super simple. There are many benefits to weighted vests, particularly for women in perimenopause and beyond. If you are in that age group, it is probably not news to you that we need to be concerned about our bone density so that we don't get osteopenia, which is a precursor to osteoporosis, which is basically your bones getting more fragile, maybe a little more brittle, breaking more easily, which can cause additional problems in your health. There was an interesting study published in Quality of Life Research that found that older participants who exercised wearing weighted vests increased their bone density by 1% compared to a non-vest group whose bone density decreased by 0.6%. So that's almost like a 1.5% swing. I guess it's 1.4% swing, but that can keep you out of the danger zone if you are concerned about osteopenia or osteoporosis. Now, the one thing that I have pulled in my research, and there is a chance that I missed something, but weighted vests will help your hip bone density. From what I can tell, just by wearing a weighted vest, that is not going to help your spine bone density. And this makes sense to me because we protect our bones when we either have some sort of impact on it or when we have that motion of our muscles pulling against the bone. So our muscles and the tendons that attach it pull against the bones, and that helps create those osteoblasts. I did an entire episode just earlier this season on osteoblasts and osteoclasts if you want to get more technical in that. But let's think about what a weighted vest does. It takes more weight on our torso, and then when we are just say walking, it is creating more impact on our hips. It's not really creating a lot of impact on our spine because yes, we are getting more weight on there, but we're not getting those muscles and those tendons pulling away from your bone. Now you can wear these when you are doing resistance training, when you are doing your pulls, which are so very important, and that can help with your bone density in your spine. However, just wearing the weighted vest alone is not going to help your spine, but it will help what's called your lumbopelvic hip complex. So that is basically all your hips, right? Like there's several different bones in there, but that can help that region. Whenever you get a DEXA score, they will often measure your spine, and then they will measure what's called the femoral head, which is the femur, your thigh bone, and where that goes into your hips. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Those are the two areas that we're looking at. We're looking at your spine and hips, and then sometimes they'll measure with your wrists as well, because that is a vulnerable area. So be aware that wearing that weighted vest will help your hips. And we do have studies showing that it can help with your bone density, your bone strength, also your balance from those weighted vests. However, it's not going to increase the density in your spine from the research that I have found. I did poke around a decent amount and I can't find any that directly correlates wearing those weighted vests to your spine. But also I could have missed something, so there's that as well. Interesting enough, in the research that I found, I also saw several mentions that incorporating a weighted vest into your routine can enhance your mental health and has been recommended in aiding Alzheimer's prevention. I was not expecting to see that, but that was interesting. If that's something that is a particular concern to you, that may be something that you want to know. I mentioned this just a second ago, but weighted vests can help with your balance because if you are having additional weight on your torso and your upper body, then your lower body needs to adapt. And particularly if it is not your natural weight, then your body and your feet and your lower body in particular almost has to do like what I might call like a recalibration of like, okay, this is what I'm used to, but here we are now. And so it's just forcing different muscles to engage and activate that might not normally have to do that because you don't have that extra weight on. Weighted vests can also help with your muscle strength. It can enhance your muscle strength, enhance your endurance because the added resistance forces those muscles to work harder during exercises and daily activities. So yes, you can wear them when you're exercising. You can wear them when you are on a walk, but you can also wear it just, tootling around the house, doing whatever you're doing and housework, or if you work from home or something like that. And if you do wear one while you are exercising, then what that's going to do is increase the intensity because that's more weight that your body is having to move around. So that can increase your intensity. Whether you are walking or doing pull-ups, like if you can do a pull-up with a weighted vest, please reach out. I want to give you like the biggest high five and the biggest hug because I'm so impressed with you if you can do that. I cannot. But if you can, then I want to recognize you with that. But that will help with increasing your intensity and increasing that cardiovascular benefit. I have a friend who has had some knee issues and she loves running, but she just can't run anymore. So she'll put her weighted vest on before she goes on walks to increase that intensity. And that's a wonderful option as long as it's right for you. And we're going to get into that here in just a second. So when should you wear one? Well, honestly, that's kind of up to you. You can add these in pretty much any activity, except I'm going to say not swimming. Don't wear it swimming. for obvious reasons. But you can add these into pretty much any activity to enhance your intensity, to make anything harder. However, I do recommend, and we're going to talk about this here in a second, starting with your low impact activities and maybe even just wearing it around the house. I do not recommend, if you are like going all in on a full new workout regimen and you're like, I haven't ran since high school, but I'm going to start running every day. I'm going to throw on my weighted vest. I'm going to go running. Please don't. Please don't. That's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. Just like anything else, we need to progress up to it. I would never put someone under a bar with 45 plates on either side and say, okay, well, you're ready to get into it. Let's just do this. So, you want to make sure that you are progressing into that. You are slowly ramping up. But particularly if you strength train or if you enjoy walking, this is a great opportunity to throw that weighted vest on and use it. However, like I mentioned, you do want to slowly ramp up. So please, if you are going to get a weighted vest, start maybe with just a few minutes a day and start ramping up from there. Don't decide that you're going to put it on at 7 o'clock in the morning and take it off at 7 p.m. at night. That's too long. Your muscles need time to adapt, and they need time for particularly your back muscles to get strong enough to support that. You're just going to be tired. I'm telling you, you're just going to be tired. So do it slowly to allow your joints, your muscles, your tendons to acclimate rather than going all in all at once. So please avoid just going balls to the wall and wearing a vest all day long because someone told you it was good for you. There are some contraindications for people who should not be wearing a weighted vest or should only do so under the advice of a doctor. And contraindications, if you're not familiar with that term, you probably are, but just in case you're not, it's just a term for like who this is not appropriate for. I'll just say a general like umbrella term is if you have any kind of spinal issues, please ask your physician if this is a good alternative for you. So that includes things like kyphosis, which is the dowager's hump. You may have heard it's the kind of that hump in the upper part of your back that can increase your stress on the spine, and it can potentially worsen that kyphotic curvature, so that we don't want to be doing that. If you have scoliosis, so your spine is not in a straight line, then please just check with your physician. There isn't a whole lot of research that I found that's specifically on weighted vests and scoliosis, but obviously if you have spinal curvature, just make sure with your physician that this is appropriate for you, because there's obviously a ton of different types of scoliosis. So you want to make sure that a vest is right for you and your back. If you have spinal stenosis, which is basically like, my understanding of it is like the space in your spine is kind of closing in, then this is probably not appropriate. There was a medical expert in Harvard Health that said, look, if it puts pressure on your spine and if you have spinal stenosis or significant disc degeneration, then it can cause problems all the way up to your neck. So be aware of that. If you have that degenerative disc disease or a disc herniation, then the research that I'm seeing is kind of mixed on that. Again, talk with your physician. If you have a physical therapist who knows your body well, they are the person to get the yay or nay on that, not from me. And then also, I would say if you already have a diagnosis of osteoporosis, then I would check with your physician on that, because there is a spectrum of osteoporosis. It's that number line. So where do you fall on that? How comfortable is your physician with you doing that? And then also, like, where is that osteoporosis? Maybe it's in your spine, but it's not in your hips. So if that's the case, then my gut feeling is a weighted vest really isn't going to be helpful for you because it helps your hips. Now, maybe your spine is fine, but your hips are in that osteoporosis state. Well, again, me using my own discernment and knowledge of this, then to me, that would be a more appropriate situation than if that was reversed. Also, if you have really poor balance or if you have impaired vision, keep in mind, just like this can help with your balance, then if your balance is really, really poor, then this is probably not appropriate either. Same thing with impaired vision, because you want to be able to see the space you're in. You want your body to be able to feel the space it's in. And if you're already having a very difficult time with your balance, then adding something on to make it even more difficult is not appropriate. You should be doing other things with only your body weight to work on your balance, not adding something on before you are ready for that. That's, again, part of the progression. Again, before we get off of this contraindications topic, I really want to emphasize that if you have back or neck problems, then please talk to a doctor before using a weighted vest. They are your physician. I am not. I'm here for education, but I'm not here on a one-on-one. But if you're listening and you're like, okay, well, none of those contraindications apply to me, I think this might be something that I would want. Like, how much do I get? What's the right weight? All of that kind of stuff. So basically, the general guidelines suggest starting with a vest weight that's about 5% of your body weight. This ensures that we start small and that we can add to it. And that is something that I'm going to recommend here in a little bit about what to look for when purchasing a vest. Is you want to have it be adjustable, not only in the size of the vest and how it fits you, but also adjustable weights. And if you put 5% of your body weight in and you are tired after a certain amount of time, then it's time to take a little bit of that out. Start small and add as you get stronger. Do not start too heavy. Err on the side of caution. If you're like, well, I don't know, maybe I should try this, but this is a heavier one and this just doesn't seem like enough, it might be enough. And it would be better to spend a day or two at a smaller weight and then add it in, rather than think that you should be somewhere and then it's just too much. Then, as you get stronger, you can go up to about 10% of your body weight. So that's kind of just the general recommendations. Start around 5%. You can even start less than that if you want to, and move up to about 10% of your body weight. That should happen over time. And I would just pause here and say, like, we don't have to max out a weighted vest. A weighted vest is just intended to give a little extra boost, a little extra oomph, right? So we are not getting our heavy endurance strength training from a vest. That's what we get in the gym with our weights, with our dumbbells, with our resistance bands that I'm such a huge fan of. That's where you're getting your resistance training and building stronger muscles. The weighted vest is just kind of a little extra oomph. So you do not need to max that out in order for it to be effective. When you do get your weights, you also want to make sure that you are distributing them evenly. So side to side, right side, left side, you want it to be about the same. Front side, back side, you want it to be about the same. But if you think about this, with the exception of pregnancy, when we gain weight, we just kind of gain it all over, right? Like, we're not just gaining it in our right arm. We're not just gaining it in our left leg. It is a full body thing. So we're trying to simulate, like, well, what happens with our body when our weight goes up? Well, it's going everywhere. So we want this weighted vest to, even though it's just on our torso, we still want it to kind of just go everywhere. So make sure that the weights that you're putting in are hitting all regions of that torso, front to back, side to side. And just to be very clear, like, some vests on the side to side, it's still going to be on the front of you. It may not be like on the side of your waist. That's okay. I'm just talking about, like, you don't want all of the weights on one side or all on the front or all on the back. The other thing I would highly caution you to be mindful of is how you are walking. If you get one of these and you start going on your walks, watch your foot strike. And what I mean by that is, it's very easy, and I do this too. I've kind of been working on it when I think about it, but it's very easy when we're walking and we're walking fast to land really hard on the heel of our foot. If you were barefoot, you would not land that hard. I was recently on vacation and the house kind of had these multi-levels. And so I kind of felt like I needed to walk softly. And when I was walking softly, I was almost landing like on the balls of my feet rather than on my heel, because the heel just reverberated down the house. We don't want to be wearing these vests with the extra weight and jamming our heel into the sidewalk or into the pavement, because what that does is it shoots the force back up our body and it lands in our knees and in our hips. So if you're going to wear that vest, I want you to think lightly, like pretend like you are barefoot walking on grass, and how would you walk that way? So that's how you also want to walk when that vest is on. If you are at home and if you are used to walking around barefoot, that might be something to experiment with for just a little bit. Like take your shoes off with the vest on and see how you walk. You just really want to avoid jamming that heel down into the ground and stopping you. It's just like with running, like proper running form. No good runner ever runs striking that heel down at the ground really hard, because the force goes back up into your legs and your body rather than propelling you forward. So be aware of how you are landing when you are wearing that vest, because otherwise that may cause undue stress on your knees, on your hips, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So what do you look for? If you're like, okay, but I want to try all of this, then what kind should I get? What kind of weighted vest should I get? So first of all, you want to look for some proper fit and comfort. You want to have a wide range of motion with your arms, and you kind of want it to feel like a workout top that's just tighter. And the other thing to keep in mind is there are some that will clasp or zip up in the front like you are wearing a vest and you're zipping it up. And there are some that have more of an X shape that will come over your shoulders, that will meet kind of right at that breastbone and then go under your chest. Common sense just tells me that if you are a larger breasted woman, you may want to have that X shape rather than the zip up. So that way you can get it fitted everywhere around, because if it's having to go over your large chest, then it may not be snug in your torso area underneath your chest. So this may be something that you need to buy a couple of them and play around with and kind of see what works for you and what fits best on you. I think it's probably wise to look for a brand that has one specifically for men and for women, because they will be cut differently. They will have different proportions. And so probably they will fit your body as a woman better if you have that option. You also want to look for a vest with quality materials. So you want durable material like nylon. You want really strong stitching, something that can withstand repetitive use and sweat. This is what those customer reviews are made of. Read the reviews wherever you're going. See what other people are saying about them. Or if you have a neighborhood group, ask around, see what other people like. I will also say that if I were to buy one, then a non-negotiable for me would be that I need to be able to take the weights out and I need to be able to wash it, because living in Houston, Texas is hot and muggy and I will sweat going outside just to go to the mailbox. So I can only imagine what wearing nylon for 45 minutes is going to do. I mean, no. So make sure that you can wash your vest. However, whatever brand you get, you want to make sure that it is washable. You also probably want it to be adjustable. Even if it comes in small, medium, large, extra large, and you get the size that works for you, you still want to be able to have some adjustable features. So maybe those are straps that can be tightened or loosened, not unlike your bra straps, like that kind of strap where you can loosen it up or tighten it up. Maybe ones that'll make it a little looser or firmer around your torso area. But we all have unique bodies. And so let's make sure that we are getting one that can mold to our unique bodies. And then as far as your weight options go, I would again make sure that the weights are adjustable and that you don't get one that is going to be more than 10% of your body weight. The one brand that if I were to buy one, and I'll tell you why I'm not totally sold on it yet, but if I were to buy one, the brand that I would get is Hyperwear. And that's because I have used Hyperwear products in the past and they have been phenomenal. They make something called sandbags. So it's a nylon bag that you put sand in, but they're very durable. I've had these, I have worked out with them outside. When I ran fitness classes outside, we used those. We were throwing them. We were doing all kinds of stuff with them and they still are great. So I'm like, okay, if it can withstand that, then it can probably withstand just me wearing it and my sweat. Again, making sure that it is washable, but those Hyperwear ones only go up to 10 pounds. So you might be thinking like, is that enough? Well, that's really for you to decide. I will say that hyperwear is probably not going to be your least expensive option. And from what I can see on their website, they only have the kind that zip up. If you are wanting one of the ones that make more of the shape of the X to accommodate for large chest or any other reasons, then they don't make that. However, they are adjustable. You can wash them, and I've been happy with their products in the past. They have several different options of vests, ranging from about $115 at the time of this recording in May of 2025 to $240. So they're not cheap. If that's out of your budget, then go to Amazon, but just look for some of these features that we have talked about. Look for a washability, look for an adjustable, look for adjustable weights. I mean, these are the kinds of things, and then read the reviews, do your own research. But in general, I think a weighted vest is probably a decent investment if the benefits match the goals that you have. Now, I told you I don't have one, and right now I don't have any plans to have one. And this is why. Number one, I just can't, the sweat, you guys, outside, the heat. Like, I'm so miserable in the middle of the summer. I just really don't want to put any extra weight on my torso. I don't want to be zipping up a nylon, or even if they have more of an aerated one. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm so hot as it is. Also, I have had a DEXA scan recently, and I actually have really strong bones right now. Because I do a lot of strength training, because I do my own impact, because I will do plyometric exercises. I have been running some more, like with sprint work. I just don't feel like this is necessary for me. Like, I don't know that for me, it would make that much of a difference. It might be a good idea for walking to increase that intensity, but also my walks are generally programmed in to be a lower impact and a lower intensity workout. So for me, I just don't know that it's something that I really need right now. I do think that there are some women who it would be very beneficial for. So that's for you to decide. That's for you to use your own discernment. Discernment is a big value of this podcast, and I know that you can use that for yourself. So I'm so sorry that I don't have like one specific one that I say, yes, this is the very best, because I haven't used one, and I really don't like to come in telling you that you need to use something if I haven't tried it before. However, if you want me to point you in one direction, I would say go check out the stuff at Hyperwear. And also, again, start on Amazon, know what you're looking for in terms of breathability, adjustability, the weights, how much to have. Even if it's just an extra 10 pounds, that's fine. Like the Hyperwear ones seem to only go up to 10 pounds. And I think that that's just fine. Again, we're not using this as a workout. We're using it for a little extra oomph. So I hope that answers the questions that you may have, with the exception of which weighted vest should I get, because I don't have that answer for you. But now you know what to look for, and now you know if this is even right for you. And again, just a friendly reminder, if you have any kind of neck and upper back issues, please, please, please talk to your physician before buying this to make sure that it is best for you and your unique body. And hey, if you are having conversations with friends, or if you see a post on social media, if you would, and if you found this episode helpful, please share this episode. That is one of the very best ways that we can get the word out of aging with grace and strength. And I would love to come alongside anyone else who is wanting to do that. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.